Paris Hilton. You probably know the name, but the person behind the name, maybe not so much. As Tracy Smith tells us, prepare to be surprised.
Paris, right in front.
By now, you probably think you've seen everything from and about Paris Hilton. You know, the socialite who made a career out of being a dumb blonde. A reality TV star famous for being famous.
That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot.
A Barbie doll voice with nothing to say.
I don't know.
What is Walmart?
That persona, she now says, was all an act.
It's like they sell wall stuff?
No.
What is it?
It's like
What do you think the difference is between that character that you created and the real Paris?
There's so many differences. Like, with the character, it's mostly kind of this blonde, bubbly, kind of Barbie airhead. And in real life, I'm the exact opposite. I'm not a dumb blonde, I'm just very good at pretending to be one.
You actually knew what Walmart was.
Yes, I know exactly what Walmart is.
So this is the family home?
Yes, this is my parents' home.
And these days, she's talking about a new film that describes a time in her life that she says was too painful to bring up until now.
I feel like my parents were scared and they didn't want their reputations to be ruined.
I wonder if some people are going to say, with all that's going on in the world, do you worry that people are going to say, oh, come on, with everything that's happening, should I really care about Paris Hilton?
I think when people see the film, they're going to see a completely different side, and they're going to see I am a human and I do have feelings, and they're going to understand me a lot more. I know there's so much more to me than what they thought.
Paris Hilton, heiress to the storied Hilton Hotel legacy, was born to wealthy but working parents, Richard and Kathy. She says they were strict, no makeup or dates allowed, but as a teen, Paris had a wild streak. So wild that back in the 90s, Mom and Dad sent her to a series of behavior modification schools.
How did your parents get to the point where they thought that that was the answer? What were you doing?
I wasn't really doing anything. I just moved from LA to New York, and that's when my life completely changed. And basically, I was just sneaking out, going to clubs, and not going to school and ditching class. And that's when my parents thought it was time for me to go away.
So in 1998, then 17-year-old Paris wound up at the Provo Canyon School in Utah, a place for treatment of young people with mental and behavioral challenges.
There's no getting out of there.
But in her film, This is Paris, she describes the place as more of a prison camp with solitary confinement and physical abuse.
So they made an example of you. And they would choke you?
No.
And hit you?
Yes.
And
It's so weird to think now, because I buried this for so long with my emotions. So now to think about it, what happened, it's so weird for me to even be like, how is this really real?
We reached out to Provo Canyon. In a statement, they said, in part, that Provo Canyon School was sold by its previous ownership in August 2000, and they therefore cannot comment on the operations or patient experience prior to this time, and also that they do not condone or promote any form of abuse. Paris says she never told her family about her experience there, but suffered nightmares for years afterward.
She would say things to me after, like, I still have nightmares. I still in the middle of my night, I feel, she would say that. And I always take what people say with a grain of salt. Like, I think, yeah, it did bother her, but it was our way of saving you.
Why not tell them when you got out?
When I got out, I was just so grateful and so happy to be free that I just didn't even want to bring it up. I was like, I'd rather, just never talk about this, just don't think about it. And from the moment I stepped out of that building is when I decided I'm never telling this story to anyone ever.
You thought you'd never tell it?
No. And I didn't think they would believe me, because even hearing myself talk about it, it sounds impossible to believe.
After she left the school, Paris Hilton says she tried her best to forget it.
Paris, straight ahead.
She was a fixture at every high-profile event, and she got famous for all the wrong reasons, like a 2003 sex tape scandal that made headlines.
The sex tape happened after the school. Is there a connection there?
That would never have happened if I hadn't went to that school.
You don't think the sex tape would have happened?
No.
Why not?
I just feel when I got out of that school, I was so lost, and then I ended up meeting the person who did that. And I never would have let someone like that in my life if I hadn't went through such experiences. And therefore, I would never have put myself in that situation. But I just wanted love so bad. I didn't really know. I was so naive, and I trusted the wrong person. And that's something I'll regret for the rest of my life.
But despite what she's been through, or maybe because of it seems Paris is having the last laugh. She founded her own fashion and merchandise empire and is reportedly worth about $300 million, a fortune built on self-promotion.
You're like the patron saint of the selfie culture, really.
Yeah.
So do you feel pride or guilt about that?
A little bit of both.
Hello, Paris. How are you?
She's lived so much of her life on camera that people think they know her. But at 39, Paris Hilton says she finally knows herself.
You said you feel like you've been a kid for so long? In what sense? Explain that to me.
I've always been a kid at heart, and I never really wanted to grow up. I feel that's just how I was for so long, maybe because I didn't really get to have a childhood. But now I'm all grown up.